Hello, and welcome to this Infineon Technologies and Tata Communications webinar. Now I would like to introduce today's presenters. Olivier is the Senior Director of Application Marketing, IoT Security at Infineon Technologies. Also here today is Dayan. Dayan is the Director of Strategic Global IoT Alliances, Microelectronics, and OEM from Tata Communications. Gentlemen, welcome to today's event. And with that, I'd like to pass things along to Olivier to get us started. So go right ahead.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olivier Caron. I'm from Infineon Technologies, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today. Together with my colleague Dayan, we're going to provide you with some explanation so that you understand the benefits of using an eSIM product with remote provisioning functionality instead of a classic or virtual SIM card on your device. So those are some figures to help you understand who is Infineon and what we are doing. Infineon Technologies offers a wide range of semiconductor solutions such as microcontroller, LED drivers, sensors, automotive and power management ICs. We are number one in automotive and power segments, and number two in security ICs, according to ABI research. Infineon has an extensive track record on reliable logistics as well as on long-term product lifetime commitment. Thanks to that, we have shipped more than 36 billion PCs to date, and that includes more than 200 million eSIM products. We are 40,000 employees around the world and will soon reach or be 47,000 with the integration of Cypress. The proliferation of IoT cloud-based platforms and the 5G deployment are fostering the adoption of cellular-based M2M or IoT solutions. Indeed, cellular connectivity is essential to delivering the day-to-day functionality, remote updating needed by today's customer of consumer or industrial IoT application. When your device is equipped with a cellular modem, you then need the services of mobile network operator or mobile virtual network operator in order to get access to the internet, thanks to their mobile data plan. So the SIM stands for Subscriber Identity Module. The SIM card will be the link between the user or the device administrator and the mobile network operator. The SIM card holds some credentials such as network keys and unique numbers to identify and authentify the device owner which consume the data so that you can get the bill. And those credentials are programmed in the SIM memory during manufacturing. And this memory content is called an MNO profile. And that profile can also hold some other information such as the list of preferred roaming partner. The classic SIM, also called UICC, is linked to a single MNO over its complete lifetime. If you are not happy with the quality of services, such as coverage or tariff of your current MNO, then you may want to contract with a new one. As a direct consequence, you will have to swap the existing SIM by a new one provided by the new MNO. And the cost of a physical SIM switch is estimated at more than 100 US per device. And this average amount is of course not linked to the SIM physical swap itself, but because of the time it takes to reach the device once deployed in the field. Let's take the example of a smoke detector. You first need to precisely locate where the device is installed in the building. You then need to have the access granted to the room and use a ladder, and eventually a screwdriver. So this is a big amount of money and time, which in case of IoT could exceed the cost of the device itself. Moreover, if the SIM chip is soldered on the board, it's nearly impossible to change it. If you want to deploy your service in different geographies, you will also have to contract and source the SIM card from different mobile network operators. So now you understand the limitation of the classic SIM. Let's have a few words about the software SIM or virtual SIM, integrated SIM. So those are different terms that you may have heard about already. Those solutions might be acceptable for closed-loop system only. Indeed, they are all based on proprietary implementation and are usually not accepted by the MNOs and or the device manufacturer because of some known limitation. To list few of them. So, number one, a soft SIM or eSIM only scales if you deploy the same device everywhere with a very specific modem or application processor. Number two, the security is a big unknown compared to a standalone SIM chip. And a SIM chip has proven its robustness and resistance to attack from many decades already. And finally, the MNO profile provisioning onto the device during manufacturing brings additional constraints and challenges to the OEM on the supply chain. You need to set up a secure server infrastructure between the MNOs and the OEM factory, and it has to be repeated for every MNO. So an eSIM with remote provisioning. How does that work? So to support this case, the GSMA, which is the global organization that represents the interest of mobile operators, has introduced the notion of subscription management platform. This subscription management platform provides the means to download, enable, or delete operator profile into SIM over the air. It means that it's like a digitalization of a physical SIM swap. You can load a new profile on the SIM without having to physically change the SIM. How does that work? So the eSIM is pre-provisioned during manufacture with a profile called a bootstrap profile, which allows the first connection to the network. So that if later on you want to download an operational profile from another MNO, you can do that because of this out-of-the-box connectivity. The service provider or the fleet manager contract a mobile network operator depending on its specific needs. Could be choice because of the coverage, the countries of operation, data traffic capability, the rates, and so on. When the IoT or M2M device switches on, it can signal to a backend server on which it was pre-registered. So the new MNO can then download into the eSIM a new profile, which was prepared for that specific eSIM chip. You've understood that all the classic limitations of the SIM card are gone. You can easily and digitally swap the SIM without having to send someone to physically replace it. Means that one single SKU can store multiple profiles, and it's perfect for worldwide deployment, or if you want to change the MNO over time. It's a kind of a long-term insurance for your connectivity. The maintenance is now simplified to the bare minimum. You can use a solder SIM, and solder SIM is ideal for tiny module, ruggedized devices, or roof operational condition. And it's also anti-theft. The eSIM life cycle. How does it look like? So to start with, our Optiga Connect eSIM is already provisioned with a global coverage bootstrap profile provided by our partner Tata Communications. Next step, the eSIM is soldered or inserted into the device at the factory or before deployment. If required, the preloaded bootstrap profile allows the customer to perform, or the device OEM to perform tests of the device connectivity before shipment or deployment. And later on, once deployed in the field, the customer may select a new connectivity offering and download a new profile, but still using the same SIM chip. And when reaching the deployment, you then have multiple options of connectivity. And my colleague Diane will provide you with more detailed explanation of their solution. So why should you use an Infineon Optiga Connect eSIM? The answer is simply because it's an easy implementation path for cellular IoT connectivity. Our eSIM hardware, alongside the SIM application, conform to the GSMA specification. The integrated solutions enables manufacturers to use the same hardware in product regardless of targeted application or regions of operation. OEMs can now easily manage inventory and benefit from economies of scale. Infineon's embedded SIMs are available in different quality grades and form factors to meet specific deployment requirements. This means that the hardware is suitable for a wide range of use cases. And the hardware plays an important role in delivering end-to-end security. Our product is certified according to the common criteria EL5+, that exceed today's industry security requirements. This brings an additional level of tamper resistance, including physical attacks, meaning that the data can be protected on the device, and also when it is transferred from the device to the cloud, which is especially important for devices that remain in the field for a long period of time. So this slide illustrates how our partner Tata Communications, with its Move platform, is playing the role of a kind of an eSIM hub between the customer, whoever he is, could be an enterprise, service provider, or an OEM, and the mobile network operator. This simplification is now possible because of the Optiga eSIM that has been installed or plugged in into the M2M or IoT device. So it's now time for me to leave the stage to my colleague Diane from Tata Communications. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them at the end of the Diane presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olivier, and hello, everyone. My name is Dayan, and I lead Global Strategic Partnerships Initiative at Tata Communications. Olivier and I have been preparing our two companies' cooperation for a while now, and we are excited at the current market reaction and traction we're seeing with customers. in the next few minutes, what I'd like to do is complement Olivier's slides with a view of how a cellular service provider or managed service provider like Tata Communications views eSIM and how we plan to harness its potential. Now, the introduction of eSIM helps us create new business models where we can utilize the savings in operational deployment and management of our customers' deployed assets. We can reach these now because we do not have to assign cellular credentials in advance, which cost money, but only when the end customer truly needs them on demand, remotely, and through a fully digital process. We avoid, thus, a messy logistics around supplying and storing standard SIM cards. We avoid quality assurance issues caused by human error during the distribution phase. For example, when these are sitting in stock for 3 or 4 months, all of a sudden there's a rush order because the end customer has finally signed their own customer's agreement, and then somebody, a person, will have to match SIM with a device, write down the ICC ID of the SIM and then the ID of the device, report it back to our partner or to us, and in order for us to provision this correctly and connect it, and there are many issues here. So quality assurance is definitely avoided, just as one of the examples. And then the main thing is that we can reassign cellular credentials remotely to provide more cost-optimized routes, to provide more functionality or less functionality, depending on what that end agreement of our customer is, via a simple remote download, instead of actually going and replacing the SIM in the field. Now, simple OTA download should not be confused with 3.48. This is a full download or a full operator credential with all of the rights and assumptions and the limitations that match our end customers' requirements. So we thus create purpose-built credentials to address specific use cases based on the application, region, and the type of connectivity required, because I'm sure you understand automotive, low-usage industrial IoT, or consumer electronics devices all require a different set of settings, a different set of tariff plans, SLAs, etc. We also see the majority of our customers designing in and migrating to the eSIM due to the reasons mentioned earlier by Olivier, and some that are connected to my comment around new business models. So as remote systems are required to support eSIMs deployed in the field, it is necessary for us to continue building eSIM-specific services on top of our digital infrastructure. Without the supporting systems and infrastructure, we will leave this segment completely untapped. And finally, through being able to change these credentials, purpose-built vertical-specific services, changing pricing packages, as well as monitoring and controlling the devices and the consumption in the field, provides a plethora of operational excellence and savings for our procurement, support teams, and financial reporting teams. So a company like Tata Communications and our management not only is very excited at the new opportunities from a revenue and go-to-market perspective, but also from the savings to internal processes and operations that this whole brings. So, needless to say, our management is quite excited at the proliferation of eSIM. Now, this underlying value proposition is further enhanced because when we start meeting and talking to our customers, because the first questions or the first pain points we're asked to revolve around the complexity of managing multiple operator relationships, especially when they are building or managing a global stock-keeping unit. For each region, a specific operator would need to be chosen to avoid heavy roaming costs, utilize the volume to drive the average connectivity cost down, and still have the opportunity to remotely monitor and control those deployed assets. This in turn means something like this, which is basically managing multiple IT systems, multiple contracts, having a team to manage it all, and as a result, you cannot have a single SKU globally. One of the reasons why Infineon has decided to partner with Tata is due to our digital infrastructure which includes a fully owned subsea cable circling the globe, managed services data centers, spin up a single system to provide one interface to manage devices anywhere in the world, which basically means a single contract, single SLA across multiple networks. This includes complying to requirements in heavily regulated countries like US, Brazil, China, Russia, Turkey, and others. It's very important for me to mention here that we are a managed service provider. We provide a service, we provide a platform. There is some connectivity, but this is not the core of our business, unlike some of the other players in the market. Some of our customers, for example, for certain regions, have already existing operator relationships they'd like to keep. What we do here is we support Bring Your Own Deal Truly, where they can bring this deal on top of our infrastructure, or to ask us to host somebody else's credentials, while we just deliver the pipe to establish the connection between those two players. This is a simplified graphical representation of our digital routes, points of presence, in other words. We achieve the required cost and SLA levels through having infrastructure distributed in all of these key geographies, instead of having the device ping back from, let's say, Asia to Europe data center, and then back to Asia for the continued conversation with the remote asset. Now, let me give you an example of what that means. If you are, for example, if your end customer, for example, is operating vending machines in Japan, and there is an NFC front end for a contactless payment in order to get the Coca-Cola or whatever product from the vending machine, if the customer taps and that device has to ping back to a Europe-based data center for authorization, and then back to the vending machine. Usually, what happens is that the payment transaction times out if you do not have a distributed infrastructure like we do. In our case, then this just gets routed to the nearest packet gateway, and we route back, and thus we're delivering quality service to our end customers. Now, of course, this infrastructure keeps on expanding in both capacity and functionality. And then this is shared with our legacy business of providing unified communications and hosting services for the likes of Facebook messaging, Cisco Spark, Microsoft Teams, Skype for Business, to name a few. So I'm sure you understand the same level of SLA, reach, and performance are now available to our IoT customers because they sit on the same infrastructure. And through our legacy business, we have already established integration with all of the major cloud providers globally. So the end customers, through existing plugins that we provide, can utilize single sign-on for automated provisioning and connectivity to the cloud where their application sits. We, of course, don't stop there and offer optimization of data consumption and routing in case of multiple cloud support requests for a single customer. So all of the aforementioned functionalities are integrated and available, and then with Infineon, we are now able to offer this end-to-end service reference design to the wider market in a more streamlined fashion, basically to the people like you. This is a high-level overview of the reference design I mentioned. Of course, I'm not going to go into the details of this today, but I wanted to map the interfaces and how the Infineon product is now enabling an automated link to all the edge and cloud capacity and functionality mentioned in the previous slides. So besides all of the benefits that you're getting from the hardware point of view of a company like Infineon, there's an automated link now that is making it available for you to offer all of the edge and connectivity to the cloud capability of Tata. I'd like to conclude with sharing our key assets, so to put in context the messages thus far. So through these, perhaps you'll understand better why this horizontal growth into IoT, enhanced with the reference design and partnership with Infineon, is ergonomic for us and a logical step in our case. Because 30% of all global internet runs via our infrastructure. For the enterprises utilizing voice on our infrastructure, we manage 85 million voice minutes daily. We continue investing 10% of our $3 billion annual revenue back into infrastructure and applications to run on top of the same, and of course, eSIM is a part of it. Let me give you another example. If you're roaming from, let's say, the States to Europe, 1 in every 2 conversations are interconnected using our infrastructure. So this is due to the 600 plus mobile operator relationships and integrations that we manage. And on top of the telecommunication services, and to showcase how the same capacity and functionality is utilized in other sectors as well, we support and manage over 5 billion financial transactions annually as well, which means the security of all of this is top-notch. We've partnered with Infineon as the combination of their expertise, market reach, and scalability matches and further increases our own. Their experience in hardware design and security through an embedded link to all of our capacity, we feel offers an unparalleled level of automation, operational excellence, and scalability in terms of business models and volume for any device or any design that is including an eSIM. So this single hardware reference design with a single contract for managed and where required professional services to cellularly connect any asset anywhere in the world, including the heavily regulated regions. And this is why our common customers keep on choosing to move away from the legacy ecosystem into an abstraction layer of all of the complexity provided by the common effort of Infineon and Tata. So that would conclude my part of the presentation. I'd like to thank you for your time, and I do invite you to get in touch with Olivier or myself for further details, explanations, or questions. I hope this was an enticing conversation, and I do hope to hear from you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for that great presentation. We are going to move into our Q&A section now. Gentlemen, are all modems compatible with eSIMs? If not, which modems support it today?
Yeah, thank you, Katie. This is Olivier. Actually, the role of the modem during this remote SIM provisioning is to to transfer the mobile network operator credential onto the SIM card. So there is a channel that is taking place, and for that, the modem shall support SMS, also the BIP protocol to trigger this profile downloads and ensure this end-to-end transfer of the credential to have it securely transfer from the MNO server onto the SIM card memory. So there are few features that the modem shall support, but I would say that all recent modem models usually are fully compliant with the eSIM technology. So I invite customers that want to use a modem. If they have some doubt, they can still contact their modem providers.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that answer. Another question here. If the eSIM is being used for track, amp, and trace using a Tata contract, using the infrastructure of different MNOs when tracking goods traveling by ship, example from Singapore to Europe, does it need to change the images for each MNO using it? Or is there a single Tata image on the eSIM?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Hello, everyone. This is Dan. For track and trace or any dynamic good, you don't need to change the image of the MNO if it is traveling from Singapore to Europe. There are two cases where you would need to do that, either due to permanent roaming registrations. For example, if a device goes from Singapore, lands in Brazil, for example, and intends to stay there for longer than 3 months, you're going to need to download a local image. For anything that's dynamic and is moving in and out of non-permanent roaming restricted areas, a single image is enough, and that's something that Tata takes care of in terms of connectivity in the back end.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that answer. A reminder to the attendees, if you have a question, go ahead and place it in the Q&A window and click submit. Gentlemen, the next question here. How are multi-modem devices handled with eSIMs?
So basically you should see an eSIM like a classical SIM once it's loaded with the operational profile. So a multi-modem chip, eventually, if in normal case, it will work with multiple SIM cards. then you need to have multiple eSIMs. So you can install multiple soldered SIM or removable eSIMs on your motherboard, on your device, and every eSIM will be connected to the, sorry, not every eSIM, but one eSIM will be connected to modem 1, and the other will be connected to modem 2 if you have multiple modems. Today, there is no one single eSIM with one single interface, like the 7816 interface that can handle two communication in parallel. Might come into the future, but today you need to have two different eSIM components.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that answer. Another question here. Who owns or manages the subscription management?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. I'll take that one. So the subscription management, it is a matter of choice, actually. You can go to your chosen service provider, and they can host it for you as a service. Basically, in cooperation with them, they will ensure that the relevant part of subscription management holds the keys, the encryption and the decryption keys that are required to speak to the eSIM in your specific device. You can also choose to host and have your own part of subscription management, so that is in-house, specifically made for you, and that you interface with different MNOs if this is your strategy and choice. And finally, when it comes to us, we support, of course, all of this, plus the fact that we can take that subscription management and provide it as a service, and manage also the complexity of you interfacing with your own chosen MNOs, should you decide to bring your own deal.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. Another question, gentlemen. How many MNO profiles can the eSIM hold?
It's a very good question. So actually, the MNO profile size will not be a fixed number of kilobyte or tenths of kilobytes. So it could range from a few kilobytes up to 100 kilobytes. So it depends on the size of the profile. In some cases, the MNO profile could also contain an applet, a specific MNO applet. So in that case, size might go up to 100K. We have, let's say, sized the Optica Connect product to hold around about 10 different profiles. So you can load many profiles on the card, knowing that there's going to be one single profile active at a time. So you can enable, disable the profile without having to delete and load again the profile on the card. So the profile will stay on the card, and then you can decide which one you want to activate. So yes, to make this long answer short, it's there is another one for around about 8 to 10 profiles on the SIM card.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. Just a reminder to the attendees, if you have a question, go ahead and place it in the Q&A window and click Submit. And also, please take a minute to fill out the 3 questions on the right side of your webinar console. Your information is important to us. Gentlemen, the next question. I'm working on a 4G, 5G private network. Is it possible for me to generate the provisioning info, which should be loaded on the eSIM to connect to my network?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. I'll take that one. It is definitely a very interesting question, and one that I'd like to follow up later on in more detail. But for now, the eSIM will hold any combination of input and output files. The input file would basically be the set of credentials that your private 4G network is requesting. Those would be sent either to the production facility or to the subscription management service, which will then decrypt, encrypt those, send back the information to your backend systems, as well as to the eSIM in the device, in order for the two, when paired, that they recognize that they have access to the service within your private 4G or 5G network. The reason why I'd like to follow up in a bit more detail, is because it is always a question whether or not and how you are partnering or how your private 4G and 5G is built up, meaning your ecosystem. But in general, it works exactly the same as any other network, an eSIM.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that answer. Another question. Can it be used in a redundant situation in a same device?
So if I understand the question well, is can this be used as a kind of backup SIM card on the device in case the standard SIM is not working well? So the answer would be yes, definitely. But eventually, this eSIM could be used as the unique SIM card on the device. So you can easily load, enable an operational profile from MNO A, and there is an option for a fallback connectivity on another profile. So it could be a profile that was preloaded on the card at the time of shipment. So in case coverage is not good with your preferred MNO, there is this fallback that will be automatically triggered to restore the network connectivity, to avoid to have a complex design of routing the interface of the modem to two different SIM cards. This is one of the cool features of the eSIM.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. Just a reminder, all the attendees, go ahead and submit your questions in that Q&A window and click Submit. And if we don't get to your question today, we will reach out to you following the webinar. All right, gentlemen, next question. With all connectivity going through Tata, would this affect throughput speeds for global M2M internet gateway devices?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. And the short and crisp answer is no. The digital infrastructure has been made for massive enterprise, and the capacity is there. So M2M, apart from even if we were connecting fleets and hundreds of thousands of connected cars with all of the infotainment, our SLA as well as the capacity is very well placed to make sure that we provide the proper connectivity to all of our customers. So no, there is no issue in terms of capacity when it comes to this. And if I understand the comment well, basically, as 30% of global internet is going via our traffic, that doesn't mean that our capacity is only, for example, 40% of all of the world's internet. So it was more a comment to make sure that everybody understands that we already have the actual physical access routes in all of the key geographies in the world.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, next question. Is this eSIM as secure as a removable SIM card?
Yeah, so actually the security requirements for an eSIM are even higher than for a classic or removable SIM card. The GSMA requires that the product is going through a security evaluation, but also all the supply chain and manufacturing processes. So it's end-to-end security that is controlled, and the manufacturer need to prove that every secrets are securely stored. And on top of that, our product, of course, it meets the GSMA security requirement, but it also complies with the very demanding common criteria EAL5 plus security assurance. So it then provides a robust and trustworthy vault so that your sensitive assets are stored securely onto the hardware. So this then gives the global MNO a kind of sufficient trust for them to store their secret keys into this secure chip, because they do not longer own the hardware itself like a formally removable SIM card. So they have to trust the hardware in order to put their credential onto it. So yes, this is definitely not as secure, but even more secure than a SIM.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that answer. Another question, gentlemen. Who will do the agreements with MNOs for services?
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Katie. I'd like to take that one. So we've got a few types of customers that either already have those MNO agreements that they would like us to manage as an extended arm, basically. We also have customers who have a few in key geographies, and then they rely on us to ensure that all of the rest of the coverage and MNO agreements are done. And then we've got customers that come to us and say, I'd like you to manage all of those MNO agreements, and I don't mind, I don't have a specific preference on the MNO. And we provide a list of operators among which the end customer can choose. So it is really a question of what the end customer would like to do, and we can support any of those scenarios. In general, it's always a combination in between the customer asking us to manage MNO deals and also telling us the preference for some MNOs in some key geographies where they'd already have either a commercial agreement or an ongoing relationship with.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. Just a reminder to the attendees, any questions, please enter them into the Q&A window. Click Submit. Gentlemen, the next question here. What makes Tata Infineon solution better than any regular eSIM vendor? An example is Vodafone.
Okay, so Diane, if you don't mind, I can try to answer this one. So this is indeed a very good question. So first of all, Infineon brings the hardware expertise that is key for the OEMs. When you integrate a product or when you install a product into the field, you need to make sure that it's going to operate for a very long time. Here, if we talk about M2M or IoT devices, it could sometimes be 15 years or more. So you need to have the insurance that this product deployed will last for this long period of time. And we, Infineon, we have a proven track record to fulfill the OEM specified delivery requirements and the secure logistics infrastructure. So as I mentioned previously, we can load keys onto the chip in a secure manner, even for mass volume production. We can serve specific regional needs, and we have flexible packaging options, which can make Infineon listed as a preferred supplier at many OEMs and EMS. And on top of that, Tata, our partner, brings the neutrality that is needed to guarantee the interoperability. And we have selected Tata for their infrastructure, their operational efficiency, their global presence, and very important for us was their neutrality. We don't want our customer to be locked with a big Tier 1 MNO. So they can connect to a Tier 1 MNO network. They can have a Tier 1 MNO profile running on their eSIM, but they still have this neutrality. And this was a very important criteria for Infineon. So this is why we have partnered with them, and we believe that we have the right solution.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Next question, gentlemen. How is permanent roaming supported exactly?
Thanks, Katie. I'll try to give a very short answer, and it could relate back to the image on the card that I was commenting earlier. So you have a few geographies in the world where, by regulation, no device can, no foreign device with a foreign subscription can come into the country and be present for more than 3 months. After the 3 months or before those 3 months expire, you need to be able to download remotely a local profile of a local operator in order for that device and the end service of your end customer to keep on running. People have tried to just change the subscription or do a bit of smart hacking. What has happened since last year, they're tagging both the device ID and the subscription so that the device actually gets blacklisted. So it is a very important point to address. We do it the same way that we do or that we deliver service for the customers that would, in specific geographies, like to have their own MNO. We use our platform. We download the local profile, and we hand off the commercial relationship between the device manufacturer, the OEM, and the local MNO for that specific geography, while we keep the technical maintenance and management of the platform and the digital services. And this way we cluster all of the services that we can deliver. There are 4 or 5 key geographies where permanent roaming is used, and one of the reasons why I'm very happy to receive this question: you cannot have a global SKU if you don't have a plan for permanent roaming, and that's something that Infineon and Tata are delivering to the ecosystem.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. Another question here, gentlemen. Do partnerships matter more than technology in eSIM business?
Yeah, I can try to answer this one. So it's more linked to the other questions on why we have partnered with Tata. So I think this partnership is and the technology are equally important. The GSMA, HC, 3GPP standard, they bring a solid technical foundation, and that is mandatory to specify the interfaces between the different stakeholders. So to somehow guarantee the interoperability. But a partnership is very important until the technology becomes a commodity. Some important criteria such as the liability, the integration effort, efficiency, quality of services are not covered by the technology itself, but are usually under the partnership umbrella. So yeah, they are equally important.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All the attendees out there, if you have a question, go ahead and enter it into the Q&A window and click submit, and we will try to get to your question today. This attendee has asked multiple questions, so we're just going to go with the first one here. Can multiple providers be supported with the same eSIM?
Okay. Yeah, Katie, I can take that. And I think that I can answer and hopefully cover a few of those questions because they kind of cluster to the same. You can, as Olivier has already said, you can hold actual profiles on the same eSIM and then switch between them. That's not always a preferred option. The second one is you can always have one image, and then based on smart switching, you could actually manage a few providers on the same SIM in terms of smart switching, and then when you truly need to download a full stack of credentials for one specific image of a specific MNO, then you would download a full profile, so-called electronic profile. So the answers are yes to most of the questions that you have. But we will be getting in touch with everybody that we hopefully have been able to answer well the questions, and the ones that we didn't get to. And I'd be happy to take that up offline. The short answer is yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Another question here. Could you share a concrete customer example?
Okay, Olivier, if you don't mind, let me take that one.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Without going into names, because we are under NDAs, one of the largest OEMs in the world has decided to go into vertical-specific services. What they've seen is that the 7% or 8% gross margin that they're making on the product for for any large-scale manufacturing is not really as interesting as if they were to go into services and then improve their overall profitability. And we are concretely speaking about asset tracking. So they needed connectivity from their factory in the Far East to Europe and the United States, which were the two main distribution hubs, and then wherever in the world the end customer would come up with. So the first comes the connectivity in the factory that they required, then through the distribution network that we provided them, and only after that, and when they reached the end customer, the going into the full service level agreement related connectivity services. And we've been asked to onboard their existing operator relationships in some of the key areas and fill in the blanks elsewhere. Basically, they saved time to market, as well as, of course, on the bill of material, because it's now a matter of a configuration on our side, as well as on Infineon side, to fully access connectivity in any country, instead of going out and signing a contract with a local operator each and every time. That was one. And this customer was using an eSIM, so they fully migrated to an eSIM. The first device was designed with an eSIM. And let me speak very quickly about a second one. There was a migration. It was an industrial gateway with two SIM slots. One of them was used for critical updates. The second one was used if the end customer, wanted some of their own connectivity or cellular connectivity as well. Their customers started coming back and saying that they don't want to manage this anymore, that they cannot manage the level of liabilities and warranties when it comes to an actual service providing, nor are they equipped to. So we came in and we helped out. They migrated to an eSIM design, saved, of course, the bill of material, because you've got a single now eSIM. The device became more robust, and now with the combined capacity, they're basically able to switch on and off the subscriptions as they see fit, and they get a full white label access to all of the Tata backend infrastructure functionalities and capabilities, so that they can sell it as their own service. And the key underlying factor was that we took on some of the liability and the warranties, so that they could now match the requirements of the end customer. So those would be two examples that hopefully fit best the audience.
All right, thank you so much for that answer. Looks like we do have time to answer about one more question today. A reminder to all the attendees, if you did ask a question and we did not answer it live today, we will reach out to you following the webinar, so your question will be answered. And just another reminder to please fill out those 3 questions on the right side of your webinar console. That information is important to us. So this will probably be our last question today, gentlemen. What would be the system requirements for eSIM and performance?
So basically, this question is, I believe, somehow linked to one of the previous questions for the modem requirement. So there are no real system requirement as such with KPI to ensure interoperability with this. So the modem needs to support some of the features that I mentioned, such as the SMS, BIP. But in case of M2M devices on the IoT, there is no real API expected, so that the user will wait for the download of profile and is expecting that will happen in less than 5 seconds. We are not talking about an iPhone here, where you select an MNO and you expect the MNO profile to be loaded instantaneously. Here, actually, the profile download is kind of pushed by the subscription management platform onto the device, and it will happen into the background. So there are no real performances expectation here. So standard modem could make this
eSIM usage possible.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that last answer. So we are going to start wrapping up the webinar right here. Olivier and Dan, I want to thank both of you so much for being with us here today and for taking time to answer all of the attendees' questions. So thank you both.
Thank you, Katie. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Katie. My pleasure.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. Again, I want to thank all of you for taking time to be part of this webinar event. Take care, and we will speak with you soon.